listening to Ridecast, the podcast of the Widow Sons Ridings chapter. The opinions expressed in this episode do not represent those of the Widow Sons Masonic Biker Association UK and Ireland. You can find us on Facebook at Widow Sons-Ridings chapter, on Instagram at Widow Sons_Ridings chapter. Our website is ridings.wsmba.uk. You can look us up on YouTube by searching for the Ridecast channel. And if you want to contact us directly, email us on ridecast@hotmail.com. Right, that's the housekeeping taken care of. Kickstands up, on with the show. Hello, and welcome to Ridecast Season 3, Episode 4. This is your host, Yaka, and I'm back with my co-host, Gremlin.
Hello.
And Pigpen.
Hello.
So we've got a busy news update in segment 1 of this episode. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. We've had a lot going on in the last 6 weeks, haven't we?
We've been busy.
Welcome to the show, everyone. This is our penultimate show for the season. We'll be doing probably a Christmas special, hopefully. We'll squeeze one in before the new year.
Yes. Pigpen will be emptying his sack over for your at the Jingle Bell Ball.
God. That is too much, man. I cannot put that into the episode.
Are you sure?
Well, I'll maybe beep a few bits of that out. All right, so let's jangle jewelry.
And what's about that then?
Okay, so let's crack on with the episode. Let's cover what we've done. Right, so first on my list, we've got Trax's patching. That was back on the 13th of August. Seems like a long time ago now, doesn't it? And that was a bit of a surprise patching ceremony, wasn't it, Pigpen?
It was. It was a surprise for Trax.
It was a surprise for me as well.
Well, I come up with these good ideas every now and again. We were just out for a ride, weren't we? We had a decent turnout for a ride.
Where were we? Go on, tell us. Give us a clue. Where were we?
Elton led it, didn't he?
He did. Ride, it was up to, we ended up at Masson.
Right. Can I just stop you there? I just want to remind myself of a look of horror on certain members' face when he turned up at Masson thinking he'd be the first one there, only to be greeted by a group of us who set off from Wetherby in good time.
Was it Pigpen you were talking about? Was he the guy that turned? Yes, that's right. Yeah. So we met at Masson, had the old obligatory cup of tea, sausage sarnie.
Yep.
I got told off by somebody there, didn't I, for riding on the inside of the cones?
Yeah. I don't know what all that was about. Was there some sort of market going on?
Some sort of market, and there was a little bit of an area coned off, and I dared go past the cones in order to do a U-turn, and some guy came over and said, "The cones are there for a reason, mate." I'm like, "Right, you are, boss. Sorry about that." Got told off for doing a U-turn.
Badger had his drone out, didn't he? Which makes a change from him normally droning on.
Yeah.
So from that point, Elton led us out into the countryside. Pigpen had a word and said, "Right, I've got the patches. You two guys are ready for your ritual. How about we throw in a surprise patching ceremony for Trax, who had met all the criteria, been riding out with us all year." And Elton found a suitable place out on the...
Yeah, we're on the moors going from Masson back over to... back way into Pertley, going to Lofthouse. So
that's right. We pulled over, and Trax was duly patched in as a full member of the Ridings chapter. Badger got his drone up in the air again and did a little overhead filming, and yeah, that was all cool. It was a bit of a surprise for him. I think Trax was pretty taken aback by that one. But yes, another great addition to the chapter there. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think it was another excellent ritual by the two ritualists.
Yes, it was. Not blowing our own trumpet or anything.
And I was very lucky because the night before I'd swallowed a dictionary. It gave me the sorest throat I've ever had.
Very good. That's very good.
One day we'll have a patching in ceremony that's the same as the last one.
Changes every time, doesn't it?
Every time. Everyone is special. They're all different.
They are unique.
We haven't done one the same yet since you've been doing Gremlin.
And that was the first of three patching ceremonies and one demonstration, but we're coming to them later on. So let's move on to the next thing. I just want to mention, not massively attended, but there was that Arthington show. Who went to the Arthington show? I know it was Inky and somebody else. Who went with
Trax?
Inky? Was it Trax?
Trax was our representative who went,
Yep.
and Inky did Inky turn up?
Pretty
No.
sure Inky was there with his bike, wasn't he?
I thought Inky couldn't go. I thought it was just one of them did. Two of them did.
I'm sure Inky was there again.
He didn't go because I was going to put some pictures on of Inky being there to wind Trax up because he wasn't there. So no, it was Trax who went.
All right, okay. Thanks for that, Trax. Set up with the Freemasons and the blood bike again. We're making a habit of that, aren't we? Getting a widow's son in with the blood bikes.
Yep.
Who are organising it? So the guys at Royal Wharfdale Lodge over at Otley.
Yep.
They sort of go to these local shows to the area to put out the good word and try and get some interest. So they get the blood bike to come up, and they've now started getting the widow's sons to go to. I think the bikes draw people in as well. Like they quite like to look at the bikes on the stall. So
especially if it's a Harley.
Yeah, it's good promotion for the chapter. You know, a widow, even if it's just one widow's son there with his cut on and the symbols on his cut.
Exactly.
You know, it gives us a bit of visibility, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
Shall we move on?
Let's move on.
Okay, so the next one, another patching ceremony followed by a fundraising ride. It was Ian McIntosh's patching ceremony this time. Now,
his first patching in ceremony.
Exactly, yeah. Now, Ian has been going by the sort of name Pacamac.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's not like his official road name yet, is it?
No, because he was worried. He was worried we were going to call him Flasher Mac.
Right, yeah. I mean, I removed it off. I removed that nickname Pacamac off the chat group a while back, and somebody added it back on again. I don't know who it was, but I don't want.
I think he did.
Oh, he's added. Maybe he wants that name now. Then we'll have to check with him.
He just doesn't want Flasher.
No, we'll figure out. Let's figure out a different one. I know he was in. Wasn't he a dog handler with the RAF or something? He was in some regiment in the RAF that do. He's like a qualified dog handler.
What do you want to call him? K9?
Call it K9 or Rex, or I don't know. We'll figure something out. If you're listening, Ian, which we know you are, give us a hint what you fancy. Something to do with that maybe. And what do you think, Big Ben?
His lips moved, but nothing came out.
Well, it does. It's just you two. He's also a bloody chauffeur guy, isn't he? He takes people around in fancy cars. That's his sort of his day job now.
Like Parker.
Yeah, Parker.
He does stuff like that. Somebody will have a
Milady
Bentley or something, and he'll go pick it up and drive them around country and then take them home.
It's the job I'd love to do, but
what, with one-legged bloody chauffeur?
I just won't be able to. They won't adapt every car for me, will they? Before I get into it.
Driving them whether he had two legs or not.
Anyway, where did we do Ian's patching? That was at your place, wasn't it, Pigpen?
That was at the farm.
Oh,
can I just say, on behalf of the chapter, I would like to make an official apology to Pigpen's good lady Emma for the state that one of the members left the toilet in. I mean, Inky has apologised a couple of times, but I don't think that's enough.
Outrageous behaviour.
He has apologised for you a couple of times.
For the listener there, it was actually Gremlin that had a dodgy belly that morning and pebble dashed the toilet.
It's a good job it's a wet room.
Did you have to hose the walls down?
The whole lot just got bleached.
It was like a scene out of American Pie. Finch out of American Pie. Oh dear, I was very poorly.
Anyway, after that,
Inky was very poorly.
Anyway, after that patching ceremony at the farm, we actually shot down to Route 59 Cafe for breakfast, if you remember, guys.
Well, some of us did, didn't we?
Why, who didn't?
Do you remember the issue with a certain chieftain's motorbike?
Chief, yeah, tell Pigpen, give us the rundown on Chief's bike, because it was you that took care of it. Chief
had decided he was going to be his own motorcycle maintenance guy. As rich as he is, he thought he'd have a play. And didn't put the terminals back on his bike tight, so his bike wouldn't start. So he had to faff on stripping half his bike to get to the battery. You guys set off and headed for the 59, and then we got his bike going, and that's when Richard, the new guy, turned up late. So he tagged on, and the four of us shot up to Route 59, where we didn't get a breakfast because we were late.
Is Richard's the brother with the ZZR 1100?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
So he's a candidate now, is Richard.
Yeah.
So he appeared out of nowhere.
Well, Chief, he's got this fancy flash Indian Chief motorcycle there, and it wouldn't start, would it? I mean,
yeah, but it was operator error, not the bike.
Okay, fair enough. The first thing you and I said was, sounds like battery terminals, didn't we? Straight off the bat, and we were right all along. We should have just gone with our gut and gone straight for the battery terminals, and we would have had it going in 10 minutes, wouldn't we?
Instead of pushing it 3/4 of a mile down a hill, hoping it would bump start.
Pigpen going off down a hill trying to bump start it. Anyway.
We got there, and then I led a ride then from...
Well, bear with. The big fella was just desperate then for a breakfast, wasn't he?
The big fella Pigpen?
Yeah, and it never happened.
Well, I wasn't desperate. It'd have been nice to get a sandwich and a cup of tea, but
Yeah, but there was plenty of cake coming up on our destination, wasn't there?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I must admit, I did. Didn't Emma make some Rocky Road, or was that Packer Max? I'm sure I had some Rocky Road to make me feel better. Where was that?
Yeah, no, she made Rocky Road, and we had a cup of coffee and Rocky Road at mine.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I did. It was nice. Made me feel a lot better.
Where did we go after the Route 59 calf then?
We headed back towards Bolton Abbey, and then we turned and went up over the moors from Bolton Abbey and crossed up to the top of Pateley Bridge.
It were like American Werewolf in London up there, wasn't it? With all the fog. I couldn't see. Visibility dropped to about 20 meters at one point.
Yeah.
And Pigpen, as usual, flew off like he was on a racetrack. And the group, how many bikes were there? We had quite a few bikes there, didn't we? We must have had about 15 bikes.
I think so. Yeah, it was a good turnout.
15 or 16 of us, I think, turned up. So yeah.
And then it spread. That group spread in that poor weather. Everyone was slowing down, and apart from Pigpen, and it was a bit of a nightmare. But once we came down the other side of the hill, it was all right, wasn't it?
I was going to say, we got to near Apple Tree Wick, and I waited there, and we all we regrouped, and then headed back past Stump Cross Cabins and into Greenow.
Defrosted ourselves as we headed down the hill.
Yeah, headed back across and a bit of a weave around, and finally ended up in Knaresborough.
That's right.
Our Masonic Hall.
Knaresborough, the home of Knaresborough Priory Lodge.
That's it.
And Forest of Knaresborough.
Yeah, we don't mention them. We only mentioned the Premier Lodge in Knaresborough.
Yeah.
So as you might have guessed, Pigpen's a member of Knaresborough Priory Lodge, along with Inky and Trax. We have 3 Riders Chapter members who are members of that lodge. Why did we go there, guys?
Because Inky's wife, Diane, was helping to host a Macmillan coffee morning.
Raising funds for the Macmillan nurses, wasn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
and what a mighty fine, splendid array of cakes and buns we were greeted with.
Yeah, it was great. A ton of cookies, biscuits, loads of different types of cakes, chocolate brownies, all the usual sponge cakes. Absolutely fantastic, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did. So we thought this year we'd try and involve some more people and do a bit of an open day at the lodge, so people could have a look in the lodge and see the room.
And I've got a message here from Diane, from Inky's wife, who we call Half Pint, who says she's very grateful for everyone who was involved, everyone that turned up, and that they've raised £760. So that's a decent amount for a coffee morning, isn't it?
Very good.
Yep. £760. Woo!
Yeah,
Respect.
well done, Diane. Well done, Inky. Brilliant work. Yeah, we had a little look around your lodge building, and do you know what? I was quite surprised, Pigpen. It's a pretty small temple, isn't it?
It's
Quite
not
a small temple. It's cozy.
the biggest, but
Not the biggest. You could fit about 6 of your lodge rooms in my lodge room.
you get 60 in.
But it's not it's not about size, is it? Size,
That's it. It's not all about size, is it? Is it, Gremlin? You know that.
Yeah, that's why I've got a trike.
I thought you were going to pick on my feet then for a second, Pigpen. You missed the opportunity there,
I was thinking which way do I go, but
mate.
Yeah.
got grievance with him at minute. So yeah, so you're all right.
He's in your sights for a change instead of me. Brilliant. All right, Let's move on. Let's move on, guys. The next one, 23rd of September, pretty important day, really good day. Gremlin, run us through it. This was a good one.
I have no idea what you're talking about. No, seriously. The 23rd of September was the day that we patched in His Royal Highness Prince Charles. That's it, King Charles. No, let's start again. Yeah, 23rd of September, what a day. That is the morning where we all rode to Castle Grove, where we were greeted by the Right Worshipful Provincial Grandmaster, James Henry Newman, OBE, who became an honorary member of our chapter.
But not before we had a decent breakfast.
Not before we had a very nice breakfast, a full fry-up. However, they did throw in some vegan sausages for some reason.
Didn't try them. Refused to try them.
Wow. Not with a biker's breakfast.
It was a damn good full English, coffee, tea, orange juice, the whole 9 yards. There was another good turnout, at least 15 bikes there, wasn't there?
There was, and a couple of police cars.
We won't mention that.
I think there was 18 members there, weren't there?
Yeah, 18 members.
Right, I knew it was a good turnout when we rolled into Castle Grove. I think the PGM was surprised by how many turned up.
Yep.
And humbled, I might add.
And it was humbled by our ceremony.
Yeah, after breakfast, we went outside and did the full 9 yards, the full ceremony, and we did a good job of it. We had the bike set up and everything, and yeah, it was good.
We did, and we now have a honourable member with the riding name of Brother Jimbo.
Yeah, and we got him a cut made, didn't we? And patched it all up and presented him with his widow's son's cut at the end of the ceremony.
Yeah. And he actually came up to me and he said, Andrew, he said, I know how hard you worked to make this happen.
Yeah, well done, Gremlin. Well done. Good work.
Gremlin.
Good work.
Well done.
I've just got to come in there and say Gremlin didn't lift a finger. It was all Pigpen on this one. Pigpen did all the arrangements, organised the breakfast.
Hang on a second, he did not.
He communicated with the PGM. He sorted it all out. So thanks, Pigpen.
Who do you think organised the breakfast and dealt with the PGM?
It was all Pigpen. We know it was all Pigpen. You've been trying to get all the credit for it since day one. Pigpen, cheers to you, brother. Well done.
That's okay, Greg. He needs it.
Yeah, he needs a win, doesn't he? He hasn't had any this year.
It's all about me. winning at live. You look like a proper DJ there, Matthew. Where you looking up?
I'm looking at my my little news board with all my notes on.
And we also presented the Provincial Grandmaster with a cheque for £500 from the chapter towards the 2028 festival.
Yes, he was very grateful.
Weren't we one of the first to donate to the festival? It was that day it started, and we were the first.
The official launch was on that day. We'd had a soft launch on the 2nd of May.
Yeah, then Pigpen gave the PGM a real hard launch on that day.
Swear to God.
Oh my God.
Take me about 15 minutes to get to your house.
Anyway, yeah, so £500 presented from the chapter to the festival, to the provincial festival. So well done to all the chapter members that helped raise that money.
Yes.
Right, can we move on now, guys?
Yeah, must be nearly time.
Okay, moving on then. I've got down here on the 6th of October, we've got Lee's initiation. Right, run us through it.
Yep, so Lee Aggie became a member of Harlow Lodge, 4,404 in the province of Yorkshire West Riding, on Friday the 6th of October, where he was initiated into the finest Harrogate Lodge, Harlow.
There's only one lodge in Harrogate, isn't there?
There's five. There's five. Right. Now, Lee Aggie is actually a friend of Elton's, and Lee Aggie's been out on a few rides with us, and that's why he became interested in Freemasonry, and he was proposed by Elton.
And Harlow Lodge, what an amazing lodge. And that temple, that building, the temple is absolutely amazing. And I'll throw some photographs on the YouTube episode so you can see what I'm talking about. It is incredible. We did our usual photographs with the widow's sons. And then the dining room with all candlelit and
Yes.
fabulous food. A real good fun night that was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And Pigpen, you're like almost a member there. You're not actually a member, are you? But you're there a lot.
I usually visit there every month because of this.
He's made very welcome whenever he turns up.
Well, Elton makes me welcome. I used to go because a Grand Lodge member I knew, David.
Yeah.
Now it's going to put up with some pretender.
It really is Pick and Gremlin Day, isn't it?
It's bouncing back and forth between you two tonight. It's fabulous. I'm out of the firing line for a change. I'm really enjoying myself.
Go every month, usually to Harlow.
He does.
Fun lodge. It's one of those. The ritual's not very good, but
It's that. Whoa. Back your horse right up, sunshine, and say that again.
They've got a bit of a wobbly Tyler, haven't they? Slightly wobbly Tyler.
Well, as a sniper's nightmare.
Sniper's nightmare.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome, Lee.
Anyway.
Welcome to the fabulous fraternity that is the Freemasons, and welcome to the well, not to the Widow's Sons yet, but you're a registered candidate now. So we look forward to Rideouts with you next year, and eventually patching you in as a full member.
Yep. Cracker, we have had a busy time, haven't we? We've got 74 more items to do.
No, we're getting towards the end now. Okay, 7th of October, the first Saturday in October, was the Ride to the Wall, which I didn't go to, I'm afraid, this year. Gremlin, were you there, Gremlin?
No, sir.
No. So it's Pigpen, it's down to you to tell us what that day was like.
Some of us are committed, you know.
Some of you should be committed.
Yeah, a gaggle of us again set off and met up en route and kept picking up fellow Ridings chapter Widow's Sons.
Picking up and dropping straight back off because the bike wouldn't start.
Well, we did have poor old Scud. His old bike was held together by gaffer
Rust.
chewing gum.
Hasn't he bought a new bike? Hasn't he bought another one? He has.
Yeah.
Down regular. So he seems.
Was that Pigpen? Can I just come in? Was that his new bike that kept breaking down?
No, the old one broke down, and he's got himself a Royal Enfield Meteor, hasn't he?
All right.
He bought this brand new bike to turn out for this first ride with us with a brand spanking new bike. He'd got there, he'd fueled up, he freewheeled from the garage just down to wait for us, and then when we arrived, it wouldn't start.
Oh, no.
So we pushed him around again for 10 or 15 minutes, and then in good old Ridings chapter style, we left him. And, but hang on, that's all credit to him. He rung up his recovery guys who recovered the bike. He rung up the shop and complained. They took the bike back to the shop, dropped the bike off. He then got on a spare, demo bike they had and set off on his lonesome and headed off down to Tamworth on his own.
Wow.
And he met up with us eventually. He was.
Well, can I pick up the story from there? Riding down the M1, a car came past, flashing and tooting its horn and waving and pointing backwards. Apparently, one of Scud's missile launchers hadn't been taped on properly, and he had one of his crutches halfway down the M1.
No way.
One of his missiles.
So what did he do? Take the next exit and head back for it?
No, thankfully, it was only about 20 yards back up. So,
all right.
He crawled up the hard shoulder,
hobbled
on
away,
his hands and knees.
Got it. So he made it in the end. But yeah, so there was a gaggle of us there. We got down. We went to Tamworth Masonic Hall and met up with probably another 100 plus widows.
Yeah. Looking at the photographs on Facebook that somebody posted, it looked like 130, 140 widow sons there in that group.
A lot of us there. We then followed in procession and went into the Arboretum in procession and got parked up. And then we had a bit of a wander. And then we ended up at 1 o'clock going to the Masonic
Gardens, they call them, don't they? Masonic Gardens.
At the Arboretum, where we did our own sort of little memorial to the fallen. And we had our own little ceremony in there, which again, I think it was the biggest turnout they've had up to now of
How many do you reckon were there in the garden?
Again, I'd say there was probably 200.
Yeah, it looked like a lot.
It was very, very busy. So we did a little bit of ceremony in there called the chain. If anybody who is a Freemason knows, they'll know what the chain is. We did that. And then we went off and we waited for the main ceremony to take part.
Yeah. Was it dry all day, Andy?
Cracking the flags. It was, yeah, we'd all dressed for hypothermia because it normally is.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were full on in overheating, sweating mode. But it was a fantastic day for the weather. It was beautiful to see everyone just sat around on the grass, chilled out. Good ceremony. And
a ton of money raised for charity, I expect.
A ton of money, and then to top it all, fly by with a Spitfire to end it all off. So
I think that's maybe the first year they've done that, because I've been to a few and they've never had anything doing a flyover.
Yeah,
well, probably because the weather's been too crap before.
Probably, yeah.
Spitfire came straight over, across from side to side, and then his last flyby came from behind, straight over the top, and waved his wings and
away.
That was a fair sight. And like I say, it was, you could see the guy's face in the cockpit, so it was
low then.
It was proper low. That sort of big sounding engine.
And Merlin engines. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, really, really good. Very moving.
That's a fitting tribute, isn't it?
It was a lovely day, and we had a good turnout from our chapter. And yeah, so
excellent. All right then. Okay, we're coming to our last couple of items now then. The next one, 18th of October, so only last week, me and Gremlin, along with a few other chapter members, visited Amphibious Lodge over in Heckman.
We did.
And that is the lodge where two of our members are members of the lodge. That would be Trip and Sack. Trip and Sack, both members of the lodge. Trip being junior warden, Sack being junior deacon or senior deacon. Senior deacon. And we went over there, and our illustrious president, Gremlin here, did his first talk on a new subject. No doubt you've done talks in lodges before, Gremlin, but this was the first one you've done on the history of the widow's sons.
Yes, it was. And to be fair, it was very well received. I won't give anything away because somebody might like to invite me and give the talk at their lodge.
Yeah.
Even though I say so myself, it was, why are you shaking your head, big? As if I want to go to Knaresborough Priory and give this.
I'd like you to come to my lodge and do it for definite.
Yeah.
It was really
and then we actually did a patching in of a demonstration patching in, and we used Brother Pacamac, and that's his second time he's been patched in. And luckily, he hadn't had time since August to stitch on his association patch and his chapter patch so we could do it properly. So he is the only member of the chapter to be patched in twice.
Yeah, record holder. But that was real good, a real good chat. Everyone seemed really interested. Obviously, Trip and Sack were really pleased to see all the widow's sons there. So who was there that night then, Gremlin? That's right. There was House,
Pacamac,
Inky, Pacamac. Yeah. So it was a good turn, and obviously the two brothers that are members of that lodge.
Yeah.
How was the festive board? Because I had to dash off home after the meeting.
Very nice. We had a very nice curly whirly Cumberland sausage for the main course. You know, very good.
Excellent. Yeah, good.
Yeah. Here as well off Pacamac was it were really good because he's the only one who'd been patched in twice, and it were two different ceremonies.
I tell you what was funny. Obviously, Pigpen, you weren't there. You normally junior deacon on our ceremonies, and you weren't there. So I went up to House. I said, House, we need you to do the junior deacon job here. So you're leading him. He said, what do I do? I said, well, you've seen Pigpen do it a dozen times. You go north, south, east, west, and that's it. And he set off and completely forgot where he was going, went the wrong way. We were all going that way, pointing. And anyway, bless him, he got the journey.
He did a good job. He did.
He got there. And to be fair, Gremlin did his obligation absolutely perfectly.
Well, you say perfect.
It was absolutely perfect.
So he used a lot of words. Were they in the same order as last time?
Well, we didn't have anyone there with the cheat sheet, so he could have been saying anything he wanted to be.
No, you see, Gremlin is very good at making you believe that what he is saying is what it is.
You just say it with confidence, don't you? And if you get it wrong, no one's going to notice.
Was it? Absolutely full to the brim of. Oh, hang on, is it confidence or
Full of something?
Okay, right. Moving on, guys. Finally, our last item for news was yesterday. The care home visit. Who went there?
It was.
You went, didn't you?
I did. So there'd been a request sent out, not to the widow sons in general, but to motorcycle cyclists in general, to visit a care home in Linley, West Yorkshire, for a patient there who I think's got early stages of dementia or something. And he used to be a motorcycle rider, and it was something that they wanted to do. I don't know if it was his birthday or what the special occasion was, but it was really nice. And
he wanted to see bikes, and he wanted to have a visit by bikers, basically.
He did.
How it started was one of our chapter members, a friend of his, who is a Mason but isn't a widow's son,
Yep.
put the word to him saying, I've got a few of my biker mates going. Is there any more of your guys would like to, join in with us? So he sent it to me. I sent it out to the chapter, and we gained, what did we have? About 9? Was there 9 of you turned up?
There was more than that. There was from Waudby, there's myself, Inky, and 2 hours. We went to Hartshead Moor and met Sack, Trip, and Scud. And then we got to Greenhead Masonic Hall, where we were greeted by Compo, Brasso, H, and this other chap, Jason, who is a Masonic biker, but not a widow son.
So there were 9 widow's sons.
Did they lay on any tea or anything, or was it just a case of turn up?
No, turn up. There were glasses of orange juice, or orange squash, and there was a couple of tins of Quality Street.
Right, okay.
And I'm still chewing them now. They were good.
So that was good. So he was pleased to see all the bikes, was he?
He was, and the bike that they all creamed themselves over was my trike.
Oh God, yeah.
Well, felt at home on the old tricycle, didn't they?
Right, yeah. So a busy couple of months there, guys, and I think things are going to start slowing down now, aren't they? The biking season has come to an end. The weather is most definitely turned.
Oh yes, right. That's another thing to say. If we go back to the visit to Amphibious Lodge after my talk, we now have a new candidate for the Widow Sons.
Yeah, excellent. Right, guys. So I think that about wraps up the news update for this episode, don't you?
Yeah.
Hello and welcome back to segment 2 of the show, and we have a special guest on this episode, and I'm going to let Gremlin introduce him. So Gremlin, over to you.
Yeah, but we also have a presenter missing because he's gone deep sea diving. Pigpen is in search of hidden treasures somewhere. Isle of Muff again or something, wherever he likes to go. Anyway, moving on swiftly, we have, now remember, Ridecast is about Freemasonry and motorbikes. So from a Masonic point of view, I'd like to introduce Worshipful Brother Steve Waudby.
Hello, Steve.
Hello, everybody.
Good afternoon, good evening. Right, the reason why Steve is here is to talk through his experience of a bit about Freemasonry, a bit about motorbikes, but also a bit about being a helicopter pilot and also his involvement with the Yorkshire Air Ambulance, which was obviously instrumental in my accident. Not that the YAA caused my accident, but they were there to help.
So Steve, being a helicopter pilot, I've got, as we usually do on the show, I've got a little bit of an intro music for him. So Steve, this is specially for you.
Werewolf.
Those of you of a certain age who grew up in the 80s will know that as Airwolf, as Steve said. Anyway, moving back to you, Gremlin.
What was Jean Michael Vincent's name in Airwolf?
I know.
Come on, Steve, you're a pilot.
I know. I think Was it Wolf or something? I can't remember.
Well, that was his surname, but part of it sounds a bit like a gentleman's strip club.
No, you've got me there.
Stringfellow Hawk.
Oh, there you
Stringfellow
go.
Hawk.
Well done. Well done. See, now,
Yeah, Yaka knows all about Stringfellows.
yeah, you've done some research there. You caught me on the hop there.
We have. Right, now, let's start with the first question. Steve, which lodge are you in and when did you become a Mason?
So I became a Mason in 2011, and I joined Agricola Lodge, number 1991 in the city of York.
And which Masonic building is that?
That's Castlegate House, which houses a number of Masonic lodges in York.
And also, the lodge that you are in also has a few widow sons. You've got Yaka, you've got Alien, and you've got a part-time motorbiker called Jag.
Yeah. So that's Kenny and Neil.
I know we've got several widow sons because we used to see the bikes parked outside, and I know one of them.
You wouldn't have seen Jag's bike parked outside. You didn't go 5 miles away from his doorstep.
We certainly hear Ken's bike, wouldn't we?
Yes, the noisy Harley.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, now, next question. What was your first bike and how old were you when you got it?
Oh my goodness! Right, excluding the 2 mopeds because I don't really count those as motorbikes. My first motorbike was a Yamaha YCS 5, which was a twin cylinder 200cc pocket rocket.
That sounds old. That sounds like you're going back a few years there.
And I was 18.
Wow, back in would have been the 70s then, would it? Early 80s.
Excuse me, no, it was in the 70s.
Was it? Crikey.
You're older than you look, aren't you, Steve?
Oh, go away. So,
and did you take your motorbike test when you were a teenager, or?
I didn't. I took my motorcycle test probably another 12, 15 years later. Yeah.
So this 200cc bike you had, Steve, you were riding that on L plates then, I take it?
Was indeed, yes. So
wow, that's how old he is. He was riding a 200 on L plates.
Because in those days you could go up to 250, couldn't you?
No, you could.
L-plates?
You could. I couldn't afford the lovely 250s of the day. Yeah. The RDs and the Kawasaki KHs, they were the ones to have. Yeah.
Well, perhaps if you'd have scrapped those mopeds, you could have afforded to put that money towards.
You know, you wouldn't get anything, not even for scrap value.
Yeah. If Pigpen was here, he'd be saying it's the same for a Harley these days, but you know he's not here, so I had to say that for him.
So you passed your test many years after your first forays out on the 200cc. So after you passed your test, I'm guessing what in the 80s or 90s then, was it?
It was 1990.
Right. Okay. So that's roughly the same time I passed my test. So what was your first bike then? That was the time of the FZRs and the CBRs and you know the early days of those sports bikes. So
I bought myself a Enfield Bullet. It was a 500cc single, and remember it really well. It had a decompression lever to.
Was it kickstart then?
For the kickstart, absolutely. Wow. And if you got it wrong, the kickstart pedal would punch your knee up into your chin. Yeah,
it would throw you over the handlebars.
I had the same with my Yamaha XT500.
Yeah. Hard to kickstart.
Yeah, well, the reason why I bought that was I'd been on it was quite a nice adventure, really. We went to the Himalayas with the Air Force, and I rode around the sort of the rice paddies around Kathmandu and up to the foothills of the Himalayas on a 350 Enfield Bullet, and you didn't even require a license over there. And I had such a good time. I thought, this is a great bike. And I decided to buy one. I only had it for about 12 months, and I realized because it was a single cylinder engine, 500cc. It used to fire once every other lamppost, you know, as it go along. And the vibration was so severe.
Was it Indian?
It was, yes, it was.
They're made in India, aren't they?
No, don't go there. Don't go there. So practically both sets of mudguards were falling off, the rattling. Yeah. I had to redo the timing, twist the distributor, and because it was such poor metal, I had to rebore the tightening screw 2 or 3 times. It got to the point where I thought, I can't drill this out anymore. So that was the time I decided to sell it.
Would you recommend an Enfield to anybody?
Not back then, but they've now gotten a lot better because they now sell to the European market, of course, and they've managed to regain the Royal part of the title as well.
Up there, they've got that back.
Yeah.
Scud has got himself a Royal Enfield Meteor. I mean, that broke down on his first ride out, so it sounds like it's part of the course.
So they've got the Royal Charter back, and they have improved. But do you have sort of a nostalgic view of your old Bullet then?
I do. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I even dressed the part. I had a white open face helmet. I had the goggles. I had the black scarf.
Bell staff jacket.
Oh, absolutely! I had the bell staff top and bottoms, and yeah, absolutely loved it. But you know, I was a pilot back then, so I used to get a lot of Mickey from my colleagues.
Not surprised.
Yeah.
So that's how you ended up on a Blackbird, I'm guessing.
No, I went from that to a what did I get? I got a was it 900 F2 with the lovely red and white big red and white fairing.
Just remind me what
Honda.
Oh, the Honda.
Yeah, the mighty Honda.
Oh, absolutely brilliant bike. Loved it to bits. And that was more like the kind of bike that Tom Cruise, you know, was. Was
like the 900 Ninja type thing. So that would have been an inline 4-cylinder.
It was indeed
superbike,
yes.
Right?
It was, yeah.
I'll have to look that one up because I can't.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time, you know, with the cylinder head off, redoing all of that as well. So. Again, I had that for about a year, and I decided to sell that because I was spending more and more time on it, and that's when I got the Blackbird.
Right.
So, what would you class as your favourite motorbike?
My favourite bike has to be the Blackbird.
Right.
And to tell us, Steve, and be honest, did you ever, you know, press the limits on that and check out the actual performance, or?
Legally or
obviously on a runway somewhere, off road on a runway.
Yes, I'm not going to admit to doing that in the British Isles, but I did take it over to the Isle of Man to the TT course. I got it up to 170 on the mountain.
Wow!
And I did the Ramsey Sprint, which was, you know, that standing quarter, which was 0 to 110 miles an hour in 7.2 seconds. Wow. And I didn't even know about changing gear without using the clutch, you know, because those big bikes like that, you know, you open the throttle and then all you have to do is just flip it slightly and you can kick into the next gear.
Bang them through.
Well, I was actually pulling clutch in, and somebody said to me afterwards, you'd have knocked another 0.2 of a second off. Might have been you know, less than 7 seconds, but still got up to 170 at the front on Ramsey as well, and then it was a case of opening the drag chute and throwing the anchor out to try and stop at the far end of the pier.
Yeah, putting your feet on the ground.
Oh my goodness, standing on everything.
I tell you, kids don't know how good they've got it these days with these new modern power shifters that they get and all that. Sort of stuff.
I have to say you know, it had dual link brakes, so it didn't matter really which one you applied. It applied both anyway. So, and it was balanced. You know, I think Neil's got one with dual link brakes, I think, hasn't he?
Yes, I think he has. So a good touring bike, a good all rounder as well as.
Well, you have to remember, I bought it because I lived in York, but I was stationed in Shropshire at RAF Shawbury. So every weekend, and my family lived in York, so every weekend I had a 300-mile round trip. And if I did that in the car, well, trying to get past Manchester or Leeds on a Friday afternoon, it was just ridiculous. It could take 5 hours, and it never took any more than maximum of 2 hours. But yeah, I won't tell you how fast.
You were making progress. You were
making progress.
Yeah.
Now you have alluded to a career, and I need to ask the question, and this will probably all make sense now. Where did you learn to fly helicopters?
I learned to fly helicopters in the Royal Air Force, but I didn't join the Air Force to fly helicopters. I wanted to be a fast jet pilot.
Right.
And I finished all my training on the Jet Provost at Linton-on-Ouse. You probably remember Linton-on-Ouse before it closed down, just north of York.
Now it's been renamed Guantanamo-on-Ouse.
Everybody wandering around in orange suits. Yeah, so I did my Jet Provost course there, passed that, then I went to RAF Valley and I flew the Hawk at Valley in Anglesey. That's the same aircraft that the Red Arrows fly.
Oh, right.
So I got about 34, 35 hours on that, did about 7 hours solo, which was great fun. But the jet was doing 420 knots, which is 7 miles a minute. 7 miles a minute. Can you imagine that? My brain was only doing 2 miles a minute. So, you know, I'd leave Valley and the aircraft was in the Lake District and I was just crossing the base, you know, west of Liverpool. It was that bloody quick. So
did it scare you?
Yes, which was actually that's quite healthy because in any job like that, you know, when you're doing those kind of speeds, if you're not scared, then you're either really good or you just don't know what the hell you're doing and you're going to kill somebody. So
what sort of age, Steve? What sort of age were you when you were flying those jets?
25.
Right, young man then, a young man.
To be honest, I was the oldest of the course. I joined
really?
1 month before my 23rd birthday. Most of them were 18, 19-year-olds. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, really good.
So how did you go from that to the helicopters? Did you fly any other jets before you moved on to the helicopters?
No. We decided between us, my instructor and myself and my chief pilot, we came to an agreement. And they said, we need to sort of put you onto something more aligned to your skills. They said I had a good handling skills, so they sent me helicopters, which was great. I didn't want to do it at first, but you know, first time I flew in a Gazelle helicopter, I absolutely loved it, and never looked back.
Do you think anyone that can fly jets can make that transfer, or is flying helicopters suited to particular type of people?
It is suited to particular type of people, but not all fast jet pilots can make that transition. The thing when you fly a jet is you only really use your feet on the foot pedals for steering on the ground, and when you're taking off and you're applying a little bit of brake on one foot, and then once you get airflow over the tail, you can start using the rudder. Other than that, they're just footrests because the thing's going so fast that it doesn't really do anything.
Right.
Whereas with a helicopter, we're constantly using those skills. It's a bit like a digger driver, you know, you're moving your hands up, down, left,
like
right,
like being a drummer. You got to
drummer.
Yeah, both feet, both hands.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. So, what helicopter did you start on then, Steve?
Well, the first helicopter I trained on was a Gazelle. It was a French aircraft and Aerospatiale manufacturer. And that was like a little race car that you could pull max pitch on that and you'd be doing 160 odd knots, which is brilliant. And that was the Air Force. That was the aircraft of choice that the Army, Navy, and Air Force used for basic helicopter training.
Is that a two-seater?
Well, actually, no. It's a 5-seater. You can get 2 in the front and then 3 in the back. But
right.
What does 140 knots equate to in land speed?
140 knots is probably about 175 miles an hour.
Wow.
And why do you use knots in the air?
Well, because everything is done on navigation. It's done in nautical miles as opposed to the statute miles.
Right. Okay.
So the time it takes to cover 1 nautical mile is 1 knot.
Okay.
For all our helicopter and RAF and military nerds out there listening, can you just give us a run through of the helicopters that you've had flight experience in?
Oh God!
If you can remember them.
Well, the main aircraft I flew was the Wessex, and I did my first operational tour was in Northern Ireland in the mid-80s when it was all kicking off there. I did tours as an instructor in Shropshire. I did tours on the Wessex in Hong Kong. Did several rescues in typhoon situations and tropical storms, that kind of thing. And then when I came back to the UK, I did some flying on the Puma, then back on the Wessex again. And then as an examiner with the Central Flying School, I went all over the world flying other aircraft. So I've flown Russian HIPs, some of the other big American aircraft, the Black Hawks and things like that. So, yeah.
Have you ever flown a Lynx?
Yes, I've flown in the Lynx. I flew in an Army Lynx. I've never flown in a Navy Lynx, but the Army one's very similar. And I've got 2.5 hours in an Apache as well.
No way! You've flown an Apache?
Yeah. I had all the helmet and the and the monocle and everything. You look like a member of the Borg, you know.
Did you launch any missiles?
No, but it was so funny because my colleague, who was an AV examiner, he was sitting in the aircraft next to me, and every time we looked at each other, the big 20mm cannon moved in that direction as well.
That's creepy.
And we were communicating via there's like a digital keyboard, and that sends satellite information, and you know, it sends the messages via satellite to the other aircraft, and we were putting things like "resistance is futile." You know,
Right.
you will be assimilated.
Yeah.
Great
So,
fun.
leading on to the next question, then, what age were you when you left the Air Force, and what did you do, as in flying helicopters, once you left the Air Force?
Well, I served in the Air Force for 22 years.
Yeah.
I left at the age of about 40. It's my 44-year point, I think it called it. So age 44, 45. And then I got a job initially as a private pilot for a gentleman who had his own helicopter in York. And that was a lot of fun because we spend a lot of time either going to the race courses. He had race horses, or we'd be back and forwards to London.
So you were like a private chauffeur, as it were,
Yes,
in a
exactly.
helicopter. Yeah,
so on call on a retainer, which was great fun. And then I flew for the head of DFS, the furniture people.
Right.
Okay.
And that was a brand new helicopter. That was a lot of fun as well.
So do you get, you know, if you're a chauffeur, you get to take your car home at night. Were you able to take your helicopter home at night?
The garden wasn't big enough, unfortunately. And then I got taken on as a pilot with multi-flights at Leeds Bradford Airport, and they've been going for a long time with helicopters.
And what's that? What do they do?
So they do helicopter charter, so it's anybody can charter the helicopter. The kind of things we used to do were VIP charters to race courses. We'd do all of the big events, Epsom, the Derby, Cheltenham, Ascot, Royal Ascot, and then all the motor racing events as well. Silverstone.
Wow, that's quite a glamorous sort of lifestyle you led then.
Well, Silverstone is back in those days, it was the busiest heliport in the world at the time. You know, with hundreds and thousands of movements in a day.
So you would collect your passenger, your client, fly them to whatever sporting event they were attending, and then what? Just hang around all day while they were having a party, and then fly them home.
Absolutely, we'd go and sit and watch the race, whatever it was, horses or motor cars. Yes.
And were you kept busy doing that? I mean, how many days a week are there races on? You know, I mean, were you constantly working?
Very busy actually, because as well as the race day, like at Silverstone, you've got all the practice sessions and so on, and it's open to the general public, you know, for 4 or 5 days. On a go. So yeah,
fantastic. So you flew a lot of VIPs around. So who has been your most famous passenger?
Oh my gosh. Well, myself.
He signed an NDA. He's not allowed to say.
Well, for 3.5 years, myself and one of my colleagues, we took it in turns. We were Michael Owen's private pilot. So,
as in the footballer?
Years. Yes, as in the footballer.
Okay.
He was playing for Newcastle United at the time.
Yeah.
So we'd go over to North Wales, pick him up, take him up to training a couple of times a week, and then we'd drop him off the night before a game, and then we'd carry the family to the away games or up to Newcastle, and then everybody would come back in the aircraft together, which was a lot of fun. And it was a real pleasure and an honour to do that.
Wow. I mean, obviously, you, as a helicopter pilot, you'll be aware of the owners of Leicester City and that horrendous accident. Did you ever have any situations where you had to abort your aircraft or ditch it anywhere?
Well, I've had the odd emergency. I've had an engine fire. Had to shut the engine down. That was caused by one of the compressor blades detached in flight, and basically went sideways, destroyed all of the other compressor blades, and the fuel itself. It was like a 10-foot jet of flame out the side of the exhaust when it came out. But Other than that, no. One or two minor emergencies, but no. Touch wood, everything's been good.
So you didn't actually finish the question. You said you've flown Michael Owen for a few years, but who was the most famous passenger?
I've heard, because I know Steve. Steve and I happen to be members of the same lodge. We've shared many festive boards together, and he once showed me a photograph of him sitting with Take That behind him.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we picked Take That up. They were on a tour of the UK, so we picked them up, I think, somewhere over near in Norfolk, and then we took them to Manchester for the...
Have you carried any other movie stars or bands, pop bands, anything like that?
Lots of bands and pop stars, Tom Jones, a couple of bands as well, Biffy Clyro. So no, I've flown a lot of footballers, as you can imagine.
Yep.
And I flew the Prime Minister.
Which
a long
one?
time ago. That was John Major.
Okay.
Right. The Grey Man.
The Grey Man.
Well, you know, in my book, he's a really nice gentleman. And,
Was he?
You know,
Now, a bit off piece here, but has anybody ever joined the Mile High Club while you've been taking them for a ride?
So technically, well,
that's not a no. That's not a no.
So I have issued certificates for flying in excess of 5,280 feet, which is a mile. But we didn't
issued a certificate saying congratulations, you had a in my chopper.
So one or two people have, shall we say, they got very amorous, but no, I've never seen anything like that. No.
Yeah, nobody grab hold of your joystick while you've been flying.
Well, yes, that's happened.
Yeah, well, I have to say, to be honest, the fact you've carried a Prime Minister, you've answered that question like a true politician, which is the fact you haven't really answered the question. So we don't know who was your most famous passenger yet, do we?
Well, it's hard to define famous, isn't it? Because there are so many different...
so many stars, so many celebrities,
right,
you know.
You just forget, right? Moving swiftly on, Steve, as you can't be able to answer that one.
I suppose, really, I've got Kylie Minogue's signature.
Grab your joystick?
No.
Okay.
La 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 la
la la la.
So I'm going to stick with Kylie Minogue.
So you were a private chauffeur thingy-majiggy for stars and politicians.
I mean, basically, Steve and I have had the same job. We were taxi drivers, weren't we?
Absolutely, that's it. I'm just a taxi driver. Absolutely.
There you go. So after taxi driving for the rich and famous, when did you join the Yorkshire Air Ambulance?
So the Yorkshire Air Ambulance were looking for another provider back in 2011.
What do you mean by provider?
So they didn't have their own air operating certificate, so they aligned with a company who provided the pilots and the aircraft. And at the time, they just, well, actually about 3 or 4 years before, they just bought their own aircraft, so that was new to them, and they were looking to set themselves up as their own with their own air operator certificate. So they came over to Leeds Bradford at Multiflight, and I started flying for them then. That was back in 2011. I'd already done 2 years flying for the Great North Air Ambulance as well. That was a contract that Multiflight had. So I'd already seen a lot of flying around the northeast and the Lake District, which is incredible, really. But then started flying for the Yorkshire Air Ambulance on their little yellow MD-902 Explorers, which unusual in that it doesn't have a tail rotor. It just uses like a jet blast at the back end of the aircraft to control its directional control. Yeah.
So obviously, if you're changing helicopters, do you have to take out any special certification to prove that you can fly different types of helicopters?
Or something?
Yes. So every aircraft that we're qualified on, you have to do a type rating to qualify on that aircraft. Then you do a license skills test, And then every 6 months, you do an operational proficiency check, which is lots of emergencies and things like that, and auto rotations. And then you fly on instruments as well, and also you do an operational line check for the role that you're in. So you have to do that for every aircraft that you fly. And at one point, I was qualified on 7 different aircraft types. So you can some with retractable undercarriage, some with skids. So you can imagine it's difficult trying to learn 7 sets of checks. So what I used to do was I would apply the most stringent limitation to all 7 aircraft. So if the gear lowering speed, the maximum speed for one aircraft was 120 knots, I'd apply that to all aircraft. Whereas the Dauphin I flew for the Great North didn't have a speed limit. So, but I apply that.
He applies the same rule for learning his ritual as well, don't you, Steve?
So how long were you a pilot for in the Yorkshire Air Ambulance?
Well, as I say, I was initially flying for them as a freelance pilot, but then I joined the charity full time in 2018 when I was taken on as the chief pilot. And then less than a year later, I took over the role that I'm currently in, which is the director of aviation.
Now, does that role allow you to fly, or have you passed an age limit?
It does, but provided you are age 60 and below. So in the UK,
and are you?
No, I'm not. No, I'm the wrong side of that regulation. So I had to stop flying just over 3 years ago it's single pilot commercial air transport in the UK. The UK CAA won't allow you to do that. Whereas if we were still a part of Europe, then I could probably fly till 65. But of course we left with Brexit, and I fell foul of that particular rule. So I'm
they're always at the forefront of people's safety, and as you start to get older, Steve, your responses aren't as good. So therefore, I think it was very good that you had to stop at 60.
Well, it doesn't stop me flying. I still do a lot of flying now. The bit you were alluding to earlier, Matt, was I've done a lot of film. I've done some film work and filming aerial surveys and private flying. I get invited back every year to do Sail GP, and then every 2 years I do the Fastnet boat race. So that involves flying low level over the water, whizzing around yachts, big yachts and things, with a video camera and a stills photographer.
And you've directed a few episodes of Emmerdale as well, haven't you? Special guest director, wasn't it? You were telling me.
Well, if you watch the recent episode, I think a car went off the cliff in a quarry near Keighley, and we spent the day filming with them, which was great fun. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic! So you actually said it, but what is your current job role?
So I look after the aircraft. So it's provision of aircraft and all the
Mechanic,
resources.
you mean?
No, I'm not a mechanic. No,
he wipes the dead bugs off the windshield.
Yeah. So my role is to make sure that we have the proper assets, i.e. the helicopters.
How many do you have, Steve, in your unit?
So we're in the process of we've sold one. We're in the process of selling another one. And so at the moment we own 3, but we're selling the 3rd one, which is one of our old D2 helicopters. We took delivery of 2 brand new ones earlier this year.
Right.
And they're different in that they have a 5-bladed rotor head. They're a lot smoother. So it's a lot better ride for the patient. Anybody with a back or a neck injury will certainly get to hospital with a much smoother ride. But they're also technologically a lot more advanced than the previous ones. They have data links. All the aircraft monitoring data is downloaded digitally rather than having to do it with a disc. We've got cameras underneath and at the tail, so we can see what's underneath the aircraft. We never used to have that. We've got a brand new medical equipment. We've got a roll-on, roll-off stretcher, new cabinets, new oxygen cylinders and things. So
you've got 2 of those. Are you hoping for a 3rd?
Exactly. So we've got 2 of those, and then probably September, October next year, we'll take delivery of the 3rd one. So that will act as an operational spare. We're not planning to fly that at a 3rd base. We don't have the staff to do that. But what it means is if there's any scheduled or unscheduled maintenance, then the aircraft can step in onto the operational line, if you like, and it means
take
that
up the slack, as it were.
Take up the slack. That's a good way of putting it. But our operational availability has gone from like 90% to 99%, which is absolutely amazing.
Obviously, the Yorkshire Air Ambulance does a fantastic job round Yorkshire, because we're specifically talking about this, where there's obviously lots of different air ambulances all around the country. But did you attend, and do you attend, many accidents involving motorbikes?
We do. We see an awful lot during the summer months, and it's mainly the guys who like their speed. They, especially when we see a lot of accidents following bad weather. So the roads are wet, and the guys go out, and they're just not taking account of the conditions, really. And again, during some of the winter months as well, a little bit of ice on the road. In fairness to the motorcyclists, a lot of it is not their fault. It's other road users not seeing them, not anticipating there might be a bike in the middle of the road when they get to the next corner, and that's what tends to happen.
So I guess, is it fairly rare to see a solo biker, with an injury? Is there usually another vehicle involved?
It's normally it's normally another vehicle involved, but if you've got somebody who's riding fast on their own, then they're not going to. Sometimes they just don't take the corner. Or I've been to one where they've hit a sheep on the moors, and wiped the bike out. They've been a bit of a bad state. The sheep was
was
the
a
farmers.
mess.
It was a real mess. But
apart from RTAs, then what other sort of accidents and injuries do you attend?
So our main incidents are road traffic collisions. We don't call them accidents anymore.
Okay.
Somebody,
there was a ruling that someone said they're not an accident anymore.
So they're collisions now. So and that sweeps up a whole. It's a whole. It could be car versus car versus tree. Motorcycles, cycles, and pedestrians being hit by a car, bus, whatever. So that is the majority of our incidents, and then second to that, probably cardiac arrests, and then horse riding and sports and leisure.
Horse riding, like climbing accidents, hiking, things like that.
Sports and leisure, definitely, So that just fits everything, really.
Right. Did attending scenes involving bikers make you stop riding?
No, I'd already stopped before that, in fairness, but I'd had 2 nasty accidents on my Blackbird doing exactly what I was saying to you. I came off doing 70 mile an hour on a long bend, and in the dark, and what I didn't see was all the mud on the road where the farmer had come out from the field on his tractor, and I was on the wrong side of the road, no traffic coming, so it wasn't an issue, but I was on the wrong side of the road in a bank turn, fairly close to the ground. I've never ever been able to get my knee down, but the bike exhaust would be scraping on the ground, that kind of thing. And I just lost the front wheel. It just went on the mud. But I was so close to the ground, I just slid along I didn't hit anything either, and
lucky.
Came to a stop on the tarmac. So very lucky.
I'm guessing you probably were full leathers. So
yes, absolutely. But on that one, I learned that I needed to get one of those back protectors. So I got one of those, and that I think saved my life on the second one. Very similar incident. But I actually didn't make the corner. I went into. I was hoping to go into the field, but I hit the fence and the hedge line. So after that, I carried on riding for about 2 months, but I'd had 2 accidents, my own fault accidents kind of thing, in less than 12 months. So my insurance.
Was the obviously on the first accident the bike wasn't badly damaged? You were straight
No,
repair and straight back on it, or
so I'd lost. I broke the foot peg and I broke the front brake lever.
right?
But I took the peg off the pillion, put that to move that to where I wanted it, so I could rest my foot. And because it was dual link brakes, I could apply the rear brake and that would stop the bike anyway. And then I don't know why, but I carried a load of the bodge tape in my backpack and I just taped up all the fairing where it got trashed and rode 140 miles home.
Blimey.
Smarting a bit. Were you stinging all over?
Do you know what? The only injury I sustained was a sprained wrist.
Yeah.
Right. What about the second time? Obviously, it was a slightly more serious injury.
No, the bike was written off.
Was it?
It was, and I got a lift in the back of a tow truck. And if you've never ever had an accident or you needed to be picked up, if you think AA are going to help you, or RAC, think again, because very few companies, because a lot of these sort of breakdowns and pickups, they're farmed out to contractors, and I had to wait 3.5 hours for somebody who had who could actually carry a bike.
Right, like a flatbed that they could put the bike on. And
exactly. So most will take a car, but they don't have facility to strap a bike to it.
Can I just say that after my accident, when the Yorkshire Air Ambulance attended, I was very upset to come round in the back of a normal ambulance. I wasn't taken to hospital on the air ambulance.
Well, you and I have had this conversation. So yes, so I didn't attend, but obviously one of our crew did. So the aircraft was in attendance for yourself. Because of where you were located, sometimes it's actually quicker and safer to take you in the back of a road ambulance to hospital than it is to fly you. Because if you think about it, you'd have been put onto the stretcher for the road ambulance anyway. They have then got to wheel you to where the aircraft is, and I don't know where the aircraft was. Was it parked on the dual carriageway, or was it in the field? Okay, it may be repositioned, but by the time they've got you there and then transferred from that stretcher onto our stretcher, and then started the aircraft and then flown and then transferred you from that stretcher onto the hospital stretcher, it's actually quicker to drive you in on the lights. And I think with the nature of your injury as well, the crew, when I say the crew, the doctor and paramedics, were very concerned that it would be difficult for them to manage your injuries properly in the back of a small confined space, i.e. the aircraft. So in your situation, you stood a better chance by going in the ambulance with the doctor and paramedics present. And so that was the reason why. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
So Steve, having told us about the accidents on the bikes, do you think you'll ever ride again? Do you think you might ever get back on two wheels?
That's a good question. I absolutely love two wheels. Do you know what my favourite experience on a motorbike was not actually the road riding and the speed. It was actually on the back of a 400cc Husky off-roading in Cyprus, going from Akrotiri on the south coast there all the way up to the top of Troodos Mountain, following the goat trails and the dried up riverbeds. The only time we touched tarmac was when we crossed the tarmac road and then went up the next goat trail. And spent the whole day riding on one of these and absolutely loved it. And I think if I was to get two wheels, I might be tempted to get myself something similar, like a 400cc.
Yeah, like a Suzuki DR400, like an off-road type thing.
Yeah. And get all the things, get the bars on it, and so if you drop it, it's not so bad, and wear all the proper kit and stuff like that.
Go green laning and a little bit of off-roading.
I quite like that idea. I think my days of commuting on two wheels are gone. I like my comforts a little bit.
Gremlin, I've been trying to entice Steve into getting a bike and coming out riding with our pack of riders with the chapter, but not convinced him yet.
No, Val doesn't have any experience as a pillion passenger either, so there's no way I'm going to persuade her to get on the back of a bike.
No, fair enough.
And you've got the vintage car, haven't you? That with the roof down, and that's your love at the moment, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, I like classic cars as well. Yeah.
Good. So, what advice would you give bikers before setting off on a ride?
Oh my goodness. Check the weather, definitely. Ride within your capabilities. Ideally, ride with a group of people because you know, if you're on your own, you might not be seen if you have an accident. You know. But above all, make sure that you wear the right clothing.
I think that helped me because I had all my body armor in, helmet on, gloves. Even though I was stationary, I still had. I can't remember if I had my gloves on or not, but my helmet was on when I was hit, and I think that certainly saved me. And I didn't realise until I was discharged that I'd actually broken my back, undisplaced fracture, and I think that my back guard has saved me a lot of damage
from worse injuries. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I have seen some horrific injuries, and the main one is people not wearing gloves. Or wearing inappropriate gloves. Just a thin pair of leathers might keep the wind, and rain off you, leather gloves. But I've still seen skin peeled right back and off the hand, where they put the hand on the ground, and it's like putting your hand on a grinding machine. It just takes the skin off. And broken bones and things can be protected with a proper padding around the joints and so on. Again, I would always, I know I've ridden with an open face helmet. I was going for the look at those times, and but having seen it now, I would certainly say go for a full face helmet. That protects the
jaw,
and the neckline. It's just take care. That's all I would say. But clothing is really, really important.
100%. Good advice there, Steve.
Yep, good advice.
Just because I've stopped, don't let me put you off riding. It's
you won't.
No, exactly. and hey, you've got yourself a lovely motorcycle and
a tricycle, as Pig
he was talking about my bike, actually, Grumley.
Well, I wasn't actually.
How very dare you?
Yeah. But I mean, I've joined the Widow Sons when we've had a ride out, and we followed behind in the Morgan, which was nice. So I get the attraction, I really do, and make sure you enjoy it. But and you guys are out every weekend, so it's unbelievable, really.
During the summer, yeah. I mean, to address a couple of things that you've said for our listeners, who are obviously a lot of bikers out there that listen to us. Riding alone, you don't have much road presence. People don't see you. When you're in a group of 15 to 20 bikes riding along in a dual column like a freight train, people do not pull out in front of you, let me tell you. We're all men of an age now, so we plod along. We're not sports bikers that are screaming around at high speeds. We're riding at very sensible speeds, enjoying the scenery. So we're at the very low end of the motorcycling risk group, as it were, and that's why I think you should get yourself a bike and come along with us, Steve. Bring the missus.
I'm testament to that, Steve, of being at low risk, having one leg now.
To be fair, you weren't actually riding a bike when you had your accident. That's no, I'm just going to throw that out there.
Worshipful Brother Steve Waudby from Agricola Lodge, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your insight into the Yorkshire Air Ambulance. And remember, it is paid for 100% by donations. So the government don't chip in, do they, to the air ambulance?
No, they don't. And currently, it costs us £19,000 per day to keep us flying, and I think that's probably going to go up when we've got the other third aircraft as well. So we operate from the two main bases, 365 days a year. And we start at 6 o'clock in the morning and we go through till sort of 12 midnight. We probably do about 3 jobs a day at each base. So if you think about that, you know, divide the 19,000 by 6 jobs, you know, roughly how much it's costing us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I cost you money that day then, didn't I?
Well, the thing is,
You're worth every penny, Gremlin, every penny.
well, do you know what? I think motorcyclists know how vulnerable they are and appreciate what the air ambulances do. I'm not talking about just our charity, but around the
Yeah.
country.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many motorcycle groups doing rides for charity, and
Yeah.
we do benefit from
Fundraising.
those.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we do as an organisation. The Freemasons give a lot to the Yorkshire Air Ambulance in
Oh,
our area.
absolutely. Over the years. Yeah, definitely. So we
good.
really appreciate that. And it's not lost on me being a Freemason, you know, and actually knowing what it takes to raise that amount of money.
Yeah.
But also, you know, being on the other end as a recipient, as an operator, we really do appreciate that. It's
Good.
what I would say. It's our lifeblood, and I think we would certainly say anybody who does that for us, you are a main part of our family. We couldn't do it without you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Brilliant.
listeners, put your hands in your pockets, dig deep, send some cash to the Yorkshire Air Ambulance.
I will add a link with the fundraising website and everything for the air ambulance on the video episode. So once again, thanks for coming on the show, Steve. We really appreciate it. Steve Waudby, everyone.
Woo! Brilliant, Stu.
That seems very well organised. You've even got the clapping and everything.
Yeah. Now, can I? Here's a question for you, Steve. Have you ever listened to Ridecast?
No.
He'll listen to this one, but he'll fast forward to segment 2, where the bit that he's in, will he?
Yeah. This is season 75.
Wow. Who knew? Who knew? You guys, you're like professionals.
And welcome back to segment 3. And as everyone knows, it's time for
Email Corner.
Corner. All right, very quickly, I'm going to start off with a thanks to all the Widow Sons who commented on Facebook saying they're looking forward to the next episode. We've got a few emails to read out, and we have a very special message from an old adversary. We'll come to that at the end of Email Corner, though. Right, who wants to go first with the emails? Who's got an email?
Go on, Pigpen. You've been quiet all night.
Right. Dear Pigpen, after hearing your trip to Scapa Flow and the wrecks and to Thistlegorm in the last episode, can you tell us of your all-time favourite dive and your scariest diving experience?
I think I can answer one of those. I think the biggest dive you've been to is Knaresborough Priory, and it was also probably one of your scariest moments as well.
Well, I thought the scariest was listening to Harlow Ritual, but anyway. I think my all-time favourite still has to be the Red Sea, and
Is that the Thistlegorm?
the Thistlegorm, and just generally the Red Sea. It's so clean, so crisp, so it is the perfect diving, blue water.
What's the temperature like? It's nice warm water.
28, 29 degrees, shorts and a t-shirt.
Wow.
An hour's dive, and it's so colourful, so pretty. It's just a very nice place. Scariest dive, that was probably getting stuck inside a wreck up in the Sound of Mull.
What happened?
Went inside, and a fellow diver decided to follow me in, and then he decided he wanted to get out, so he turned around and kicked up all the dirt and all the silt and all the muck, so I couldn't see anything. Completely blind. So I just had to sit there inside the wreck, waiting for some of the stuff to settle. And
I bet that takes a long time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was a good 10-15 minutes of sat waiting, hoping.
Man, that's got to be scary. That's a scary time.
Watching your hair disappear. And
Yeah. Well, and was it an attempt on your life, do you think, or was it just a pure accident?
Oh, Dan's a very experienced diver. He just he came clambering in behind me and went, "Oh, it's a bit tight in here. Well, I'll go back out," and tried turning around. And
did you have words with him afterwards?
No, I just looked at him and laughed. It.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Who was that email from?
That's from Tom C. So thank you, Tom.
Cheers, Tom. Do you want to go next, Gremlin?
Dear Ridecast, what on earth is a gremlin bell? Cheers, Owen. Who would like to answer that one apart from me?
We were talking about gremlin bells in the last episode, so that's obviously where Owen has heard that. A gremlin bell is a very small steel bell that you are supposed to attach to your bike as low as possible on your bike. So most people attach them underneath. The bells normally have some kind of insignia on them. And if they are bought for you by somebody else, a loved one or a friend, they're supposed to bring you good luck on your bike. A lot of bikers are quite superstitious. It's a dangerous hobby we have. So any help we can get in keeping safe. I have a gremlin bell that my fiance bought me. Mine has a square and compass on it. I know, Gremlin, you have one, don't you?
Yeah, it didn't work out so well on my street glide, did it?
No.
That's because it was a Harley.
What about you, Pigpen? You're not a superstitious type, are you? But do you have one anyway?
No. You're not allowed to have more than one bell on a bike. So there's one big bell sat. You can't have another one.
All right, moving on.
I am on fire tonight.
So thank you to was that was Owen, wasn't it? Thank you for that one. I hopefully that will make sense. I'll put a photograph of the gremlin bell on the video episode. Right, I've got one here. It's quite a long one. It's from an old friend of ours, Paul Sorrell. He's immediate past master of Sackville 1619. I think he is a widow's son. Let me just read this and it'll all make sense. It says, hello, Ridecast stroke Riding's chapter. Just wanted to say how much I enjoy the podcast. Although my involvement in the WSMBA is kind of on hold at the moment, I wanted to give a heads up that Surrey chapter's VP has the road name Miyagi. Therefore, you may need to rethink the potential road name of your prospective member as suggested during the most recent podcast. Anyway, great show. Looking forward to the next episode. So, Paul, thanks for the advice there. But we're not calling him Miyagi, as you will have already heard earlier on. We're calling him Leagi because his name's Lee. So we've gone down the Leagi route rather than Miyagi. So
yep. And Paul, you sound like a fantastic man because you like our shows.
So yeah, thanks for that, Paul. This is Paul's been in touch before. For definitely.
He has.
So thanks for that, Paul. Right, who's next? I think back to you, isn't it, Gremlin?
Dear Ridecast team, with regard to Pigpen's 5 Japanese bikes, are these bikes considered vintage collectibles?
Carry on.
Will they accumulate value over time like classic Triumphs and BSA? Or does Pigpen just like having a choice every time he goes for a ride? Best regards, Jack in Leeds.
Do you want to answer that, Pigpen?
I don't think they'll accumulate anything except rust. No, they'll never accumulate much because most of them aren't standard. So unfortunately, they're none.
But to be fair though, Pigpen, when the guys that used to buy the old BSAs and Nortons and all those vintage bikes, but they bought them because when they were teenagers and in their 20s back in the 50s and 60s, those were the bikes they rode. So they bought them as a nostalgic thing in the 80s, didn't they? Whereas you and I, we were riding in our teens and 20s, we were riding Slingshots, Fireblades, those are RD350s. So when we look back now, those are the bikes that we look at with sort of misty eyes and nostalgia. And I think they are collectible. I mean, they do increase in value, surely. I mean, your argument is that if they're very heavily modified, that devalues them, right?
Yeah, if you've got a completely standard, slingshot, then it does stand the chance of making some decent money now, like a standard Fireblade.
The Urban Tiger blades, aren't they? They fetch good money.
Make £4,000 or £5,000, but you start altering things, paintworks, all that sort of stuff, mud, number plate things and exhausts, and all of a sudden, they don't have the same value. But no. They're just bikes I like. It was as simple as that. I always like sports bikes. I came from sports bikes. Not all of them are. The Honda, the big Honda, that's a big American cruiser. My Yamaha, that's like a tourer, sports tourer. And then the Kawasaki and the Suzuki, they are sort of race type bikes. But again, both of them are different. One's a sit up sort of
Street Fighter.
a Street Fighter type, you know, flat bars and cut down fairings, because that was a thing when we were lads. That
you know, you've got two GSXRs, haven't you? You've got the Slingshot and the SRAD. Both of those would both of those need a lot spending on them to return them to standard?
No, all they'd really need is a paint job. It's only the fairing colours, which are, and then again you can buy fairings out there that are standard still. So
yeah.
So
I think you know, the answer there is that if they're standard, they definitely do accumulate in value. And people of our advancing years, guys in their 50s that rode those bikes back in the 80s and early 90s, you know, we look back on them with nostalgia. And there's a few bikes I'd love to buy and just keep in my collection. You know, an original Fireblade, an FZR 1000, you know, early 916, a Slingshot. They're all bikes that I grew up on, and I mean, Pigpen owns a few of them.
A lot of those bikes are bikes that I bought, and I've still got them from when I had them in the, you know, the Slingshot is the first road bike I bought.
Right, back in the 90s when you were a young man.
Yeah, you know, I think I bought that in 92. It's an 88 model, and I bought it in 92. I've still got it.
Yeah, yeah.
My Slingshot, I bought that in I think I bought that in 2000, and it's a 99 model. I've still got that.
Right.
So things I bought and just never, they get to a value where they're not worth trading in.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you never know. One day when Pigpen's an old man and he can't throw his leg over a bike anymore, you'll probably sell that collection and make a few £1,000, I would have thought, won't you?
That might be worth something. But yeah, and again, I ride what I want on the day that what we're doing. If I'm meeting you lot at the beginning and riding all day, I'll take the slowest bike I can get on, so that I don't leave you. If I'm meeting you halfway down the motorway, I might go on a faster bike so I can have a play for it.
Yeah. So the answer, Jack, is yes, they do gain in value. They are, I would class them as collectible, maybe not vintage collectible, but that's you know, it depends on your point of view.
Yeah.
It depends on how old you are, and they kind of are vintage now. There's some of the bikes that you own have got to be over 20-25 years old, haven't they? So
well, that's it. The Slingshot is 88, so that's 20
30 something, isn't it? 35, 36 years old now, isn't it, that?
Yeah, the SRAD, that's a 99, so that's 24 years old.
Yeah, yeah. All right, well, thanks for that, Jack. Hope we've answered your question. I think Pigpen just likes having a choice of bikes to ride out on, though, to be honest. He's not collecting them for the money, clearly. Right, okay, guys, I have mentioned to you before we started the recording this evening that we've had a message from an old adversary of ours, and you guys are itching to find out what he says. It's the Podjacker. About 3 days ago, an email dropped into the Ridecast inbox, and it had no writing on it. It was from an email address that I recognise, the same email address that we get all the Podjacker messages from. But this one had an attached file, an audio file with a 20-second message, recorded message. Now, the Podjacker's used a voice changer, so whoever it is, it's still quite difficult to figure out who it is. You guys have a listen. I'll play it now. You guys have a listen and see what you think. Here it comes.
Hey there, losers. It's your arch nemesis, Podjacker, and I'm here to steal the show. I'm not going to reveal my identity. All that I can say is I'm an enigma, wrapped in a mystery, wrapped in a riddle. I'm the Banksy of the podcasting world. But that's all I've got to say this time. I'll catch you jabronis later.
And that's it. Short and sweet.
Catch you what?
Jabronis. Jabronis. It's an American, it means morons, basically. The only reason I know that is because I watch a show called It's Only Sunny in Philadelphia, and a character on that's always calling people jabroni. But do you want to hear it again?
Yeah, play it again.
Hey there, losers. It's your arch nemesis, Podjacker, and I'm here to steal the show. I'm not going to reveal my identity. All that I can say is I'm an enigma, wrapped in a mystery, wrapped in a riddle. I'm the Banksy of the podcasting world. But that's all I've got to say this time. I'll catch you jabronis later.
Does it sound like one of our members, our chapter members? I don't think it does.
I don't know, but it's actually jabroni. So, Podjacker, get your enunciation right, will you?
Yeah, but what about the fact that he mentions Banksy? I thought that was maybe a bit odd that he mentions Banksy, given that, you know, the Banksy thing with our chapter.
Yeah,
but is that?
I don't know.
Is it what, Pigpen?
Well, is that because of that? We did mention Banksy, didn't we? In one of the things about with the picture.
Yeah.
Banksy. Is that from there? What's the enigma wrapped in a riddle?
Wrapped in a mystery.
It's in a mystery. What's that? That's is pointing at something there. There's.
Well, anyway, you've got us thinking again there.
You got us thinking.
Yeah. Send another one, bit longer.
Yeah.
with your name and address and your phone number.
Yeah.
Remember, we are only simple country lads, so don't make them complicated.
Anyway, I do have a final email has come in.
Okay, go on.
And it's to be fair, it's related from the previous show about Pigpen and his love of everything that's Japanese. And there's a young lady called Keiko Tsunami. She lives in Okinawa in Japan. She's 107, and
they live to a good old age over there. Don't they?
They do. And she said that if Pigpen doesn't have any imagination, she will make sure he does by the end of the visit. Anyway, Keiko Okinawa, fill your boots.
Hang on, Keiko. What was her name? Keiko what?
Keiko Okinawa.
I thought that was where she came from.
No, she lives in. No, it's Keiko Tsunami that lives in Okinawa.
Oh right. Well, international Pigpen.
International playboys are Pigpen.
Anyway, right. On that note, I suppose we ought to wrap up the episode, haven't we?
He's holding his head.
Well, anyway, look, thanks for listening, everyone. If you've got any messages, usual address, ridecast@hotmail.com. The video episode will be coming out a week or two after this is published, and we'll catch up with you at Christmas time. Oh, Pigpen's coming in.
One more quick thing. Down at Ride to the Wall, I bumped into one of the guys that we've met and seen before. Crab.
Who?
Crab
Fat. Crab Fat.
Crab Fat. So I have a picture of us with him, me and Inky with Crab Fat, or was it me and Cassio? One of us was with him. And I will send it on to you, Yaka, and you can probably pop it on the
video episode.
So yeah, hiya Crab Fat, you do listen. And yeah, good to see you again, pal.
Yeah, and hello to Lurch.
Yeah, hello to Lurch. And just to let you know, Ridings is going to be coming down to the next rally en masse.
Yes, there's quite a few of us are booked in already. And
excellent. Okay, so that's the end of the episode. Let's wrap up. I'm going to sign off now. This is Yaka saying goodbye. Over to you, Gremlin.
And it's good night from him.
And thank God it's good night from me.
Good night, everyone. Bye. See you later.